Welcome to another episode of the Jampack Report today for March the 16th of 2021. Of course, my name is Samuel Adams and this is a daily gaming news podcast meant to bring you the hottest news you need to know from around the industry. Hosted on YouTube and podcast services around the world 5 days a week, it's your one-stop shop for everything you need to know. So if you enjoyed the show and you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and keep coming back for more. But yesterday, Xbox dominated the news cycle yet again with tons of big news coming out specifically around Xbox Game Pass, and the rumors and the guesses were in fact accurate. Outriders is coming to Game Pass on day one. The confirmation came from Megan Spur, community lead at Xbox Game Pass, who took to the Xbox Wire to make the news official. She writes, quote, "We all got a taste of Outriders with the recent demo, so I'm thrilled to announce that Outriders will be available on console and Android phones and tablets via Xbox Cloud Gaming with Xbox Game Pass on day one. Starting April 1st, not an April Fool's joke, I assure you, Xbox Game Pass for console and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members can jump into this true genre hybrid from Square Enix, which combines brutal combat with deep RPG systems. Outriders is set in the distant future where players attempt to colonize a planet that they believe to be a new home for humanity. It turns out the planet does not want them there. A mysterious storm called the Anomaly burnt out all the tech that's more advanced than a light bulb, hyper-evolved the wildlife into ferocious monsters, and colonization efforts broke down into a bitter war of attrition for the last remaining resources available to humanity. You are an Outrider, reawoken from cryostasis 30 years after the first landing on Enoch, emerging as an altered, a being with access to powerful skills and healing abilities. And now you get to flex those skills on the ever-raging battlefield. Create and customize your own Outrider, then use their devastating array of abilities to annihilate your enemy as you embark on the journey to discover the source of a mysterious signal on a dangerous and untamed world. You can play single player or co-op with up to 2 friends as you combine skill and speed in a frantic attempt to survive a savage future in this aggressive third-person perspective RPG shooter. And don't forget, it's fully crossplay. Explore Enoch with any of your friends on any other platform. This is fantastic news for Outriders and for players, and I'll explain that first point. This immediately gives Outriders access to millions of players around the world on day one. This is one of the biggest games of the spring, and now the entire Xbox ecosystem that is playing on console is able to dive in on day one without any additional investment if they are a Game Pass member. That brings an incredible amount of value to the publisher and to the developer, because instead of having to prove something and instead of having to win over the hearts of players and get that $60 investment, which is not a small amount of money for a lot of people, especially in today's world, you now have access to this game just because of the subscription you have. And so instead of having a couple of million players around the world on day one on Xbox, you potentially have 5 million, 10 million, who knows how deep this install base is going to be thanks to Game Pass. And so, this gives them the opportunity to prove the long-term value of Outriders, to continue building out the game, to continue bringing new DLC that brings players back time and time again. This could potentially set the foundation for Outriders to become a very, very large part of the gaming industry, and especially the Xbox ecosystem, now that the game is on Game Pass. I almost like to call this the PlayStation Plus effect because of what we have seen with games like Rocket League and Fall Guys, where both of those games were given away on day one as PlayStation Plus titles, and both of them took off and became viral sensations. Rocket League pushed Psyonix to new heights. Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout continues to be a dominating force in the gaming industry, and it's coming to Xbox later this year. Very exciting stuff right there. And so with all of that being considered, this is a phenomenal move for Xbox and a fantastic move for the team at People Can Fly and Square Enix. I am personally looking forward to diving in on April the 1st, absolutely going to be checking this one out. Now I will say, I do have some criticisms here because of what I saw pointed out in the community. I primarily play on Xbox Series X. That's where I have my gaming experience most of the time. And so I don't really get to see what PC players are experiencing from the Game Pass perspective. But somebody did point out, this game is not coming to Xbox Game Pass on PC. On top of that, you also see a lot of disparity between the treatment and the prioritization of the Xbox Game Pass console experience versus that on PC. The biggest, most glaring issue is the fact that EA Play is still not available on Game Pass for PC. The team is working on it. Again, it was delayed out of December, and now it just kind of exists as an indefinite coming soon. But it's time to really nail down a date for that edition and to bring it into the fold, because Game Pass for PC players deserve the same amount of respect and treatment that Xbox console players do deserve. And I'm sure that it's not just Microsoft's fault here. Specifically in the situation with Outriders, I am sure that that was one of the caveats to Square Enix's deal with Microsoft. I'm sure they said, we'll bring the game to Xbox Game Pass on consoles, but those PC players still have to cough up that dough. Super unfortunate there. But in the grand scheme of things, fantastic move. Very excited for the future of Outriders. And again, I want to reiterate and really drive home, this is the best possible move that they could have made to ensure this game gets the best possible opportunity to thrive in the short term and in the long term in the future. But on top of that, some more fantastic Game Pass news came out. You did not have to wait long to get that FPS boost on some legendary Bethesda titles. Will Tuttle, Xbox Wire editor-in-chief, writes, hot on the heels of officially welcoming Bethesda's world-renowned studios to the Xbox family, we are excited to announce that 5 of the biggest titles from their vast catalog of games, Dishonored Definitive Edition, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, and Prey, will all be updated today, and he wrote that yesterday, so the update is out now, to enable FPS boost on Xbox Series X and Series S. And it's not just owners of these titles that get to take advantage of FPS Boost. All of these titles are available with FPS Boost for Game Pass members as well. Really cool stuff here. After I got home from work yesterday, I sat down, I had Dishonored Definitive Edition installed on my console, I booted it up just to see what FPS Boost had to offer, and I immediately fell in love with Dishonored. I had never played this game before, and so as I began to play and unlock new abilities and to play around with different weapon styles and different approaches to different situations, I have become so infatuated with Dishonored that now it's the game that I'm going to play all the way through. That's what I'm doing this week in my gaming life. Really excited about it as well. And so that shows the value of FPS Boost, is that it takes a legacy title that I might not have wanted to invest time in, and it modernizes it to where it feels like a next-gen game. Although it does look in a way like an Xbox One game because of the textures, and because it is an Xbox One port of an Xbox 360 game, I still feel like it is a next-gen experience because of that FPS Boost, and because it runs so well on the Xbox Series X. So I'm having a fantastic time with that, and the same could be said for Fallout 4, Prey, Fallout 76, and Skyrim. 60 frames per second makes a big difference, and that's one of the biggest benefits that you see with the Xbox ecosystem, is that because of the way the engineers crafted the architecture, it really is capable of so much, and that makes me very excited for the future, especially as Bethesda comes into the fold. Normally, optimizations are more difficult whenever a game is multi-platform. I say this as a fan, not as a developer, but whenever you're developing for different types of consoles, it's more difficult to really fine-tune your game, and it's much easier to hit your desired release date if you kind of cater to what is possible across platforms without question. Now, Bethesda can really fine-tune their games and craft them around the Xbox ecosystem if they are going to be exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem, and really maximize the value and to maximize the power of the Xbox Series X and Series S. Really excited for the future. But if you do want to dive in, 20 Bethesda games got added to the Xbox Game Pass system last week. Very good stuff there. Tons of Doom, Dishonored, Prey, Fallout, Wolfenstein. So much to dive into. Very exciting time to be an Xbox player. But finally, to round out the Xbox portion of today's show, Undertale lands on Xbox Game Pass today, March the 16th. At long last, Undertale is coming to Xbox. For the first time ever, players on Xbox One and Series X and S will have the chance to experience one of indie gaming's most beloved role-playing games when it launches on Game Pass today, March the 16th. If you do want to dive in, the game is $14.99 if you do not have Xbox Game Pass, but this is, again, one of the indie darlings that took the world by storm a few years ago. It's a big one that people always use to mention whenever I would stream. We would be talking about indie games, and Undertale would always come up. Still never played it? Now might be the chance to go ahead and give it a shot. Kind of disappointed that this game came out amongst all of the other news that's happening this week, because now I feel like it might get overshadowed a bit, but that is not to say you should just pass this one by because there are so many other games to play. I've heard fantastic things about Undertale, so I think I might dive in and give it a shot. It feels like a good weekend burner in my opinion. But another Game Pass game has gotten an update, of course, also on the PlayStation as well. The Outer Worlds 1.07 update has introduced 60 frames per second support on PS5 and Xbox Series X. Ahead of the Murder on Eridanos DLC launching this week, Obsidian has launched version 1.07 of The Outer Worlds, an update that stealthily added a next-gen FPS boost for PS5 and Xbox Series X players. There are no words. Nobody said nothing. Nothing. You ain't heard a thing about the Xbox Series S enhancements, but this is a very good quality of life addition because it boosts the game from 30 frames per second to 60 frames per second. It makes this feel like a next-gen RPG. And this is great because, again, Murder on Eridanos DLC coming this week, lots of players diving back into the game for that DLC. And if you do want that Obsidian RPG experience, The Outer Worlds is a fantastic way to get that. And again, as I mentioned, it is available via Xbox Game Pass if you do want to dive in and give it a shot. And finally, to round out today's show, a bit of a feel-good story. A GTA Online fan has gotten 10 grand thanks to fixing the long load times. The game normally runs through a checklist of thousands of items every time GTA boots up into an online server, but many of these checklist items are irrelevant. GTA player and programmer Toast recognized this and cut the load times down from 6 minutes to 1 minute and 50 seconds. Rockstar responded after the code was published on GitHub, writing, "After a thorough investigation, we can confirm that player Toast did in fact reveal an aspect of the game code related to load times for the PC version of GTA Online that could be improved. As a result of these investigations," it continued, "we have made some changes that will be implemented in a forthcoming title update." And then Toast wrote an update on his personal blog saying, quote, "Just got awarded 10K through their H1 in-game bounty as an exception, usually only for security issues. Number one, nice, because 6 minutes is such a monumental amount of time. Is that even a word? I don't know. Sounds huge. And then on top of that, awesome to see that a community programmer was able to do something better than Rockstar Games could. And of course, he gets a little reward for it. 10K, that isn't chunk change. That's a nice little cup of dough right there. So awesome to see. And if you do want to dive in, again, title update coming soon that does bake in this change. So that sounds like a fantastic next-gen quality of life improvement almost for a game that many people continue to play time and time again. But that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. If you enjoyed today's show, drop me a like down below and let me know what you think about all of the Xbox news that we had today. On top of that, also the Outer Worlds updates and the Rockstar situation. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section, and I'll be back tomorrow for more gaming news. But until then, you guys have a fantastic Tuesday. I'll talk to you soon, and peace.